And welcome back to Immersed TV. I'm your host, Drew with you, and let's get right to the news because there's a lot of smiling faces around the nation. Today, you'll see a big milestone for NASA and SpaceX as they launch the first manned mission into space since the end of the shuttle program. We're all looking forward to see what's going to be happening during this, so be sure to tune in and just catch all the excitement there. Across the globe, nations are coming out of the COVID-19 lockdown. Everybody realizing that the coronavirus economy recovery plans need to be more green focused. And you probably have seen some of the videos bouncing around of waters becoming bluer and animals becoming in places where they normally wouldn't. So we'll see how all that starts to take place with this economy recovery. And checking in with the ISA and Chris Cote of the WSL, in case you missed it. He recently caught up with all the fame of the WSL and held a star-studded live webcast with the future Olympic surfers. To check in on the status of Olympic surfing, for sure take the time to go watch this. It was quite entertaining and very informational. Let's talk about today's episode. It is all eco-friendly, ladies and gentlemen. As we start to get back out in the outdoors and enjoy Mother Nature, we should all be reminded we need to start taking care of it. And now we're going to check in with Evelyn with a couple of questions pertaining to Sup Journal. Evelyn, how you doing?
Drew, thanks. It's so good to see you, man. You know, I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe, moving forward into this new horizon that we've got in front of us.
And Evelyn, when did you become someone who really started taking interest in taking care of the environment?
I think my relationship with the environment really deepened and broadened when I became a surfer, you know, with the ocean and experienced all the beauty that's out there and the connectivity I had with myself and the water. Like I fell in love, right? I fell in love with the ocean, and then I fell in love with the bays and the estuaries by relation, you know? And when you love something, you just naturally really want to protect it.
And Evelyn, as owner of a magazine, what made you want to be ethical and how your magazine impacted the environment and the ecosystem? And was the whole team on board with all the changes that you were looking to make, or how did that all kind of fall out?
I don't even know how to answer that. So I never knew that I was going to own a magazine. Like that was not on the horizon, and it sort of just, you know, one thing led to the next, and all of a sudden, you know, here I am as owner, publisher of Standup Journal. But I will say that years ago, you know, we all remember that National Geographic issue that had the picture of the iceberg, and the bottom of the iceberg was a plastic bag floating in the ocean. And that was National Geographic's deliberate shift into using their magazine as a way to educate about the environment. And when that happened, like my entire life just like opened up. I was like, yeah, like I want to do that. I want to be a part of that motion.
And Evelyn, the APP works hard with Sustainable Surf to help us run blue events. We also partner with brands like C2C. Who have you liked to showcase or feature over the years as someone or a brand that you really think we all can learn something from when it talks about taking care of the environment and the planet?
One of my number one environmental heroes is Zane Schweitzer, right? So Zane, years ago, published his book of his journals, right? That just talks about the Zane Schweitzer that nobody knows, you know, sort of how he thinks on a daily basis about his training, his family, his ways of self-expression, you know, and he also unveils, right, in this book, I have it right here, he unveils how much he loves the environment and how much he encourages other people to get involved in their local community. And so Zane has always been, and any conversation I've had with Zane, it comes around, right? It's not just, there's no lip service there. The guy is living his experiences. I'm sure the rest of this episode is going to show. And he's so inspiring, you know, so Zane is definitely a big one.
And Evelyn, always good having you on the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on, stay on topic per se, and talk with another Stewart of the ecosystem, Michael Stewart from Sustainable Surf, to learn more about what they do. Michael, how you been?
My third cup of coffee, so it's a lot better at this point. Yeah, so we're basically a environmental ocean health focused nonprofit organization, right? We were founded back in 2011. It's a really simple core message, and that's really how do we get individuals and brands and corporations and companies to start operating in a more ocean-friendly, or what we now call an ocean-positive way, right?
And Michael, my first question to you is, the APP always participates in blue events. And when someone partners with you, what exactly does that mean?
Great question. I'll just back up just sort of a little bit, right? So we had that ethos of how do we move people towards more ocean-friendly choices, right? And the way that we actually do that is through our programs. And one of the programs that you're talking about is actually called Deep Blue Events, right? And it's basically a complete strategy for how you would run a more ocean-friendly or ocean-positive event. We look at a bunch of different categories, right? From waste management to energy, to the community give back. It's great when the programs that you start and you run actually pick up and get a life on their own, and now they're being continued by the community that's actually on the North Shore, right? That's exactly what we want to see through all of our programs.
And Michael, something that I've actually participated in the Florida region, tell us about the new campaign with Sea Trees.
About 7 years into sustainable surf, we kind of had that classic 7-year itch, right? It was like, okay, what are we doing well? Okay, great. These programs are running well. What does the world need from us now was really the question we were trying to answer. So all the other things that we were doing were helping people to lessen the carbon footprint and the waste and water footprint and whatever else. We wanted to actually launch a program that gave people a way to directly regenerate ocean health. And that is actually through planting and protecting coastal ecosystems around the world so that they actually store carbon. The biodiversity is increased. The communities that live in these projects are actually supported. We knew that we could do that, but we wanted to actually build it at a scale where we could invite people and brands into this so that we can actually kick off basically a entire movement for reforesting the ocean, right? And that's essentially what Sea Trees is built to do.
And special thank you to Michael Stewart for joining us here on Immersed TV. Michael, take her easy, buddy. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more from Sea to Sea and one and only Zane Schweitzer going to be checking in with us from Hawaii, and you never know what he has to say. So stay with us. And welcome back to Immersed TV. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check in with Francois from Sea to Sea, all the way in Spain. Gosh, I could go for some paella right now. Francois, how you doing?
Well, it's been strict. It's been strict. It's the hardest lockdown there was in Europe. So we can finally go out. For the last week, we've been allowed to go for a jog or bicycle on the beach. We're learning from this situation. We're learning that we're vulnerable. We're learning that we're global. We're learning that the planet is crying. We've seen all these images of suddenly water being clean, fog disappearing, and suddenly people are realizing that we messed it up. So I think it was a needed pause in a way, just to make us reflect that things have to be done differently.
Francois, today's show's all about the ecosystem and how to take care of it. How did you get into a business where you're taking garbage and making sunglasses out of it?
I'm a windsurfer, I'm a kite surfer, I swim, I spend a lot of time. I live in Barcelona, I live by the sea. And one day I was coming back and I'd been on a surf trip to Maldives, south of Maldives, where areas were basically untouched by tourism, and I was just amazed to see the amount of trash that you find, on these beaches. And I thought, I wanted to do something to create awareness about that. I was starting to wear glasses, I'm 47 now, and I was a bit younger, and I started to wear glasses, and I thought, man, this thing is all plastic, you know? Fashion is the second most contaminating industry after oil and gas. And then I realized that in the optical industry, there was plastic, no sustainability, and I thought maybe we can do something there. You know, it's something simple. It's a product that people wear. It's a product that if you have a powerful story behind, well, makes people part of our story, because at the end of the day, we sell the glasses and allow us to continue collecting and recycling the waste. And so I thought, let's give it a shot.
Francois is so excited to hear the good things happening in the European collection, and I hear now the movement's moving over to Africa. Tell us more about that.
Since last year, December, we are in Ghana, and we're deploying now in Senegal. The reason is also because of my African connection. And what we do there is that I wanted to have more of a social impact. People have different priorities. Yeah. You know, we live in so-called developed societies, but over there, the emergency or the priority is, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Yeah. Generally, so what you sell today is to buy food for tomorrow, right? So don't talk about recycling, or collecting waste. But then, if suddenly you create value out of waste, right? Then they can make a new source of income with it. Once you tell them, guys, don't throw your old nets in the sea, don't leave it on the beach, it creates, terrible problem for the environment, etc. So it has value. So suddenly they're like, man, I'm gonna start collecting it now. I can make money now. Yeah, you can. Yeah. That's what we do. So we pay. So the idea is to do that there, Senegal, talking to Madagascar. I'm gonna go to Mozambique, starting conversation in Asia as well. The idea is to have the C2C flag everywhere.
And Francois, I love the idea of being able to go into a store and they have a rack full of sunglasses and be able to select an item that not only looks good, but I know I'm actually doing something to save the environment.
Yeah. But a simple thing, pair of glasses and protect your eyes, protect the ocean.
And Francois, thanks for joining us here on Immersed TV. And I hear you have some other good things coming out, so we'll be checking in with you from time to time. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more. We got the one and only Zane Schweitzer. Don't miss it. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Now we have the man with more energy than I do, which is hard to find out there. Zane Schweitzer coming to us from Hawaii to talk more about his work as an ocean activist. Zane, how did you become so involved in the ecosystem and sort of saving the planet?
Well, I think I've had a lot of pushes of motivation throughout the last few years to expand my knowledge around the ocean. In many ways, not just through sport, but as well just starting to become more aware of the environment around me and starting to see these changes happening around me. Not many people get to immerse themselves in a natural environment as much as I have. When growing up, we used to get so much seaweed, and it would almost be in the way of getting in your leash when you're going surfing. Nowadays, there's no seaweed over on the west side, and so that's just a little example of a part of our ecosystem that I've witnessed kind of be lost. And I think that has motivated me, or not necessarily motivated me, but just impacted me in a way that I'm aware, right? And that just only puts us more present in our environment.
And Zane, we're all about the kidlets. You and I, you're always spreading the stoke to the youngsters. So for anyone watching out there, let's give them one or two practical things that they could do to help make a positive impact on the world around them.
Oh, it's a great question, and there's so many things we could do. I mean, one of the greatest things that I've done in my household, which has been so fun during these times of quarantine, is start a garden box for the family. And And it's such a fun project to do. You know, ask your parents, your siblings, maybe even some friends in your neighborhood if you could still contact them to do a community garden. 2.5, 3 weeks into home quarantine, we were already harvesting, you know, pretty much 100% of our salads were coming from our garden, and it's a fun practice. But of course, other things you could do, you know, you could take pride in your hydration, you know, whether it be having a favorite cup or a favorite water bottle and filling it up with your home filtration system, you know, and not having to rely on plastic bottles. That's a big one.
Thanks, Zane, for joining us on the show. Always good to have you. And now we're going to go to where we see Zane more often with his Blue Life tip of the day.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of Zane's Blue Life Tips here on Immersed TV. We're getting ready to go shopping, and we always do so with a blue mindset. So when we enter our grocery store, we like to consider 3 things. Bring your own shopping bag, spend most of your time in the produce aisle shopping for local and organic items, and as well, try to avoid items that are excessively packaged in plastic. So there's 3 things to keep you challenged for your next shopping run. Oh yeah, don't forget your mask. All right, you guys, once you're back from the grocery store shopping with a blue mindset, make sure to clean your produce and your food real well. And that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed Zane's Blue Life Tips. See you next one.
And thanks for joining us on this episode of Immersed TV. Don't forget, follow us on all the social channels for some of the behind the scenes, some in-depth athlete interviews, and much, much more. But before we go, we're going to leave you with a clip of the gentleman we interviewed on the last episode, Daniel Hughes, as he takes on wedge. Take a look.